Okay, so I may go a little bit quick because you've seen this, I think, 3 times now, but if you want to slow down or ask questions, but then by all means, let me know. This is the agenda that we're going to go through today, okay? We're going to review those 5 special questions that we've talked about. We're going to review the rate structure changes and the implications of those changes and why we're advising those changes. We're going to take a look at the rates. And then probably most importantly, we're going to take a look at the customer bill impacts. How are customers going to be affected? And I come back to the pricing objectives because I may have said earlier it's hard, that you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're changing the rate structure, some customers are going to pay more and some customers are going to pay less. So we're going to be looking at that customer bill impacts, and we'll do that by going into the rate model as necessary. Okay, so let's go through the 5 questions. The first was, we were asked, how much does the city owe for water? And we calculated approximately $800,000. And we asked the question, well, should we apply that to the loan and reduce the principal by $800,000? I understand that the answer was no, let's not do that. But there's another special question where I understand you decided that we will refinance the loan at 2.87%. Okay. And that's this question, special question number 2. The general fund loan interest rate was at 5% back in 2008. And of course, current interest rates are lower, slowly climbing. Shall we refinance the loan? And the answer on that question was yes. Special question number 3, shall we shut down the RO treatment? Saves about $90,000 to $100,000 per year. We decided we'd leave the RO on the last time we met. Special question number 4, again, this is the one that impacts your rates the most, and that's how much are you going to invest in capital. Last time we met, we decided that you currently have an AKM water master plan that totals $35 million in 2017 dollars. Okay? We decided we're going to complete it over 12 years instead of the 8 years that's in the water master plan. And that means that, roughly speaking, you're spending about $3 million a year, and it goes up a little bit in the out years due to inflation. But in the near term, it's about $3 million a year. Okay? Special question number 5. This also affects your rates greatly, is how much fixed revenue shall the city collect through its rate structure? And you were collecting about 60% of your revenue through a fixed charge, which has nothing to do with how much your customers use water. The average in California is somewhere in between 26 to 30%. And we talked about 3 different options for you, and the City Council chose a 30-70 split between fixed and volumetric, which means you're right about what everyone else is doing in Southern California. It's a little bit higher in Northern California. I'm not sure why, but in Southern California, the average is 30-70, and you're right there with the average agency now. Yep. Okay, we talked about your reserves, and we decided to set a capital reserve equal to about 7.5% of your asset value, and this equals about $1.7 million in capital that you're going to hold in reserve, okay? With all of that, we looked at what we call your financial plan, which is, we talked about how much revenue are you going to collect in future years, and how much are you going to adjust that revenue. So based on your reserves, based on that CIP that we put in, we decided the last time we met that for the next 2 fiscal years, you're going to leave the total amount of revenue that the city collects unchanged, as shown in this chart here, okay? So your revenue adjustment, 0 in 2018, 0 in 2019, and after that, for the next 3 years, you're implementing what I would call something in line with inflation, or long-term inflation anyway.
I'll make a motion and see if it moves. So I make a motion that we adjust then our variable and fixed to, I believe we're doing a 40% fixed, 60% variable in the new structure here, and that's what I propose. So is there a second? Okay, so motion dies for a lack of second. All right. So then we move on to what you would then want us to come to a conclusion with, Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, I think the thing that we're looking for at this point is any changes to the direction that was given at the December 21st workshop, so that we can go ahead and move forward into the formal Proposition 218 process.
Okay. So with that, are there any other changes that the council would like to make?
Madam Mayor, just let me
Yes.
ask the city attorney on this. Should we, rather than specify a interest rate, just state that it will be the rate of the 20-year Treasury?
That's what I would suggest.
Yes,
that work?
that's a very good
Yeah.
procedure. And
Yeah.
then as Mr. McDonald said, it has to come back for a formal, and so you'll have the numbers in front of you at that time.
Right. So could there be a?
I'll offer that as a substitute motion.
Okay. So do we go with a vote on the first, or should we
Well,
do a
I'm offering
substitute?
this as a substitute
Okay.
motion.
So is there a second to the substitute?
I'll second that.
Okay. So then we go with the substitute motion. And all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so the substitute motion is passed then. And thank you so much for the presentation.
In front of you is still the 3070, and you can see that over 58% of your customers would get some type of, actually more than that, 67% of your single-family customers would get some type of decrease. Okay, anywhere from barely any decrease all the way up to, if you're a real low water user, a $10 monthly decrease.
We have not reached out to the port at this time because we have not decided on what the rate structure will look like. So we don't want to reach out to them on something that may not be approved or put in place by this council. So we need to take a look at the rate structure, get those 5 critical components answered, manipulate them however you see fit, and then come up with a final decision and a rate structure. Once that is done, we will ask you to authorize staff to initiate the Prop 218 process. We'll print all the notices, we'll get all the information that council approved, and we'll send it out to every customer in the city. And it's at that time we'll start doing our public outreach and having public forums here at City Council. There's 2 scheduled meetings for public outreach regarding the rate structure once we get to that point.
So I'm hearing that there could possibly be some adjustments on some of those variables then. I'm hearing that, there could be 1, 2, or 3, at least with one of them being the interest rate. But maybe looking at some other calculations to see how we could balance this whole thing. Maybe extending out the build, right? And the maintenance and repair and
Correct.
replace, right?
Balance is what we need to find.
Right, okay.
We're not changing the rates just for the sake of changing rates. We need to find a balance that incorporates the changes that council is requesting, plus be reasonable in the change and make it balance out.
Right. It sounds like maybe we even need to talk to the number 1 highest user here.
I think we do. Maybe they'll have
on the back
ideas.
end.
Maybe they'll see something that we're not seeing.
So may I suggest then that we come back to another special meeting to deal with the variable changes and try to lock down on what we feel comfortable with, as well as feedback from the number 1 customer on the commercial side, and take a look at it that way, and then bring it back to council after that. So we'll look at our calendars and consider something in April for a special workshop to get through these numbers.
I appreciate the extra breathing time, because I really felt too an urgency to make a decision. And if we don't have to make it today, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
In your case, you're doing no revenue adjustments for
Yeah.
2 fiscal years.
Right.
So the
That's what I
urgency
see.
is not really there.
Yeah, yeah.